Hello there. This is the final part of my 3-part Elden Ring series. If you haven't already, please go ahead and watch the first 2 parts, which I'll link in the comments below and the description. See ya. Also, make sure to like and subscribe and all that fun jazz. I really worked hard on this, and it will be much appreciated, but it's not mandatory. Today's the day we get our final legendary weapon, and once we do get it, it should be smooth sailing from here on in. Also, I just want to get this out of the way now and say that this video took way longer to make than I thought. Well, all 3 anyways. Chalk it up to me being lazy, I suppose. Anyways, let's go ahead and test out the Dark Moon Greatsword now, shall we? Honestly, this thing just rocks. You'd be surprised about how effectively you can break an enemy's stance with the skill, especially when you do a full charged heavy. I think if you build around the charged heavy attacks, you can output massive amounts of damage, but I didn't do that, so Now, before we go and get our final legendary, the Loot Goblin does a few chores here or there in the snowfield, mainly getting the Thorny Cracked here and killing Estelle Jr. before he makes his way into the Cave of the Forlorn. Now, why these misbegotten are trapped in this cave, well, your guess is as good as mine, to be honest. But after making it past all these jellies, we can finally make it all the way down to the bottom and fight the misbegotten Crusader. Shouldn't be too hard. Let's try that again. Now, I still don't know the lore reason why 3 out of 4 misbegotten warriors have these legendary weapons, but I like the headcanon that this guy and his group are actually Erdtree sympathizers, hence why they are locked away, or whatever. I mean, the sword does need faith to wield it, so who knows. Either way, we acquire the Golden Order Greatsword and head on over to Ordina to gain access to the Helix Tree. I'm just gonna skip Ordina, as even though I got to this Deathless, I will now forever look at Albanorex with hatred for the rest of my life. Anyways, inevitable social ostracization aside, here we are, the Helix Tree. Nothing of note happened on the way to Loretta, so let's just go ahead and talk about the Dark Moon Greatsword. The Dark Moon Greatsword is primarily a spellcaster's weapon. With a 38 inch requirement, this weapon isn't really just something you could slap onto your melee character unless you respect. Outside of that, it's your standard greatsword, minus the magic waves with your heavy attack when you use the skill. While it does have frostbite buildup, it's only at 55, which is the lower end of frostbite buildup in the game. Oh, and I think the heavies are slower too, but I'm not too sure. However, to unlock the blade's true potential, you need to use its Ash of War. Moonlight Greatsword buffs the weapon for 60 seconds, adding 65 more magic damage, as well as adding 15 extra frostbite. But the real magic, wink wink, is the heavies. Since it's the Moonlight Greatsword, your heavies will now shoot out a wave of magic. The stance damage and frostbite buildup depend on whether or not your heavy is charged, going from 22 to 84 to 35 and 105 respectively. The Dark Moon Greatsword is the only legendary in the game that is acquired via questline. and that fact alone just brings it up in my eyes. Unlike all the other legends, this one has to be earned. You can't just rush through the game with a min-max build and just cheese a boss or something like that. You have to do the quests. And I know for some people that sucks, but I normally don't try to rush things when I play Elden Ring. Plus, the Moon Greatsword in any of its forms is worth the wait. Anyways, now that we've mooned Loretta, the Blue Goblin can now head into the Helix Tree proper. And like with the Outer Tree, nothing of note happened, other than I made a putrid avatar eat shit and ate shit when I tried to fight those Helix Tree Knights. You know, I'm really glad those guys are here and nowhere else. The Blue Goblin grabs the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman before finally mustering up the courage to face off against his greatest challenge yet.
I dreamt for so long. My flesh was dull gold, and my blood rotted. Corpse after corpse left in my wake. As I awaited his return. Heed my words. I am Malenia, Blade of Mikola. And I have never known defeat.
Now, I won't lie and say that throughout this playthrough, I felt confident. Some would say overconfident. So believe me when I say that all my ego was shattered over the hours worth of attempts I had fighting Malenia. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're consistently dying a minute in now and then, yeah, that's a lot of attempts. Though I did learn that if you use the Moonwave attack, yes I'm calling it that, and she dodges it, Malenia won't be able to dodge the second one if it isn't charged. But eventually, I whittle her down.
Wait. The scarlet bloom flowers once more.
Yeah, this is kind of the only time I got her to phase 2. And after I choked, I really couldn't get back to it. I died again and again and again, with victory getting further and further from my grasp. But then, an epiphany struck. I'm a goblin. I don't need to play fair. So with that, our new scavenger hunt begins. The loot goblin heads back to raid Lucaria to grab some new armor. The Carrion Knight set more specifically, as it looks the coolest. Then I grab the third and second Ghost Flower Bellberries, respectively. I'm going to use the Mimic tier from Malenia, so get ready for that. After that, I decided, well, I might as well get all the other legendary spirit ashes that I forgot. Then I might as well get the legendary talismans too, since, well, why not? I'm already good with this stuff. But inevitably, I ran out of stuff to get, so I might as well get back to Malenia. Like I said before, I'm going to use the Mimic tier here, as it's just busted, especially with Moon Greatsword. And now that I'm using Spirit Ashes, I'm going to be using the rest of the legendary ones from here on out, so this might be the last time you see the Mimic tier. And already, we can see that I am doing way better here. Who would have thought that having 2 people fighting one blindfolded would make things easier? And even though I got to phase 2, I choked at the beginning. Attempt 2, though, went much smoother. You know, I always forget just how busted range attacks are in this game until I actually use them. Isn't that crazy? The 2 goblins tag team the rock goddess until only the original is standing, and he makes sure that this flower can bloom no more. Yes, I'm calling it that. After nabbing the Purified Fractier, the Loot Goblin rides on back to the snowfields and delivers a golden ass-kicking to this nobleman before making his way down to Mohg Palace. For Mohg, I'm going to be used Kristoff to aid me. After we run past Yo Mama, the Goblin makes it up to the next grace and both levels up once and equips the Purified Fractier. So, let's test the Golden Order Greatsword, shall we?
Dearest Mikola, you must abide alone a while. Welcome, honored guest, to the birthplace of our dynasty.
I want to get this out of the way now and say that holy damage is such an unfortunate type in the base game. And a majority of bosses you have to fight have 40 or more holy resistance, which means they're losing around 40% of your damage, at least on the elemental side. Now granted, a good chunk of those bosses also have some other elements that have that 40 resist, but most of them have that for Holy too, you know? Couple that with most holy sources outside of Ashes of War having an additional int requirement, and you got the recipe for an underwhelming damage type. Oh yeah, and I died. Attempt 2, here we go. Genuinely speaking, Kristoff is the GOAT. Don't bother telling me to rank all the Spirit Ashes because they're all going to either be an A or S, at least the legendary ones. With such synergy, it didn't take long to get Mohg back to phase 2. We dodged enough blood to make Dracula feel hungry before we see yet another instance of my man being the GOAT. As always, before we put the Lord of Blood down for good.
But wait, there's more!
You're getting a 2-for-1 special today, only at Fair Missoula, home to the Skeletal Reskins, which is just another Elden Ring special. After changing my tiers, let's fight the greatest boss ever, and talk about the Golden Order Greatsword. The Golden Order Greatsword is generally the last legendary weapon you'll be getting in the base game, and probably one many missed when the game first came out, given that it's in a locked away area inside of a hidden area. Outside of that, nothing to talk about really. It has the standard Greatsword moveset and deals more holy damage than physical, which this late in the game is a pretty big hindrance, which I've already explained before. Also, just now found this out while writing the script, it deals more damage to undead and prevents them from reviving, so there's that. Its Ash of War established order is marginally good considering what we're working with. Using the skill creates an AoE around you, and using it again will make you slash the blade twice before shooting out a golden projectile. It's good, but again, holy damage this late in the game is oftentimes absolute buns. And while doing the Ash, you don't really have any hyper armor, so keep that in mind. Now, you might have noticed that I haven't really talked about the DLC when talking about these holy-based legends, and the reason for that is because I didn't really use them in the DLC. Yeah, most of the bosses there are practically allergic to holy damage, but I wanted to talk about that whenever I actually get to the DLC, you know? Just wanted to bring that up now. Anyways, now that the best boss is done, we switch our spirit to Olga and unlock the way to Alexander. I've been doing his quests in the background because it's been a hot minute since I've done it. Plus, the shard will give me way more mileage for the DLC. With our jar pal cracked, we killed this Crucible Knight before dying once to this fuck-ass beast man who, for some reason, had an invisible sword, and another time when I forgot to call the elevator back down and didn't realize. Thankfully, I didn't fuck up a third time, and thus now I vent my frustrations on this tree sentinel. Oh hey, it's Bernal! I forgot that he still invades you even when you kill him. Quaint. Anyways, we kill him again and get one more legendary talisman before we're heading deeper down into Azula and... lying down? Alright, Placidusax, the Lord of the Old Order, master of these timeless heavens, and oh shit, I'm dead. Attempt 2 was similarly cut short. I haven't fought this guy in a while. Attempt 3 was the closest so far. Since the Ash takes so long to actually do, and relatively speaking, doesn't do much damage, I have to focus on the actual attacks, which is good because stance breaks are the only real safe opportunity to use the Ash. Phase 2 begins well enough, but the Dragonlord was about to do his laser attack, and I just couldn't get to the wall in time. And we don't talk about attempt 4. Which leaves attempt 5. Didn't mention it before, but Uga is a good distraction since they can hit the Dragonlord from a distance. And if I play my cards right with these distractions, I can have a much easier time taking this big boy down. There was a small scare here and there with his wing attack, and another where I barely managed to avoid the beam attack. But either way, time to bring the order to this old lord. Oh boy. Royalty-free sad music. So, I don't have the footage of me beating Radahn and Elden base. All I have is me killing Malekith, getting the Urge Tree's favor, Talisman, killing Gideon, and getting killed by Godfrey. Now, this is because both my external hard drive and my main hard drive were pretty much filled up at the time of recording. Who could have guessed that recording Elden Ring would take up so much space? Thankfully, by the grace of God, I didn't really touch the DLC at all. I was mainly focusing on farming runes at the Dragonlord Placidusax Palace so I could wield all of my weapons without having to use any talismans. So, let's just go ahead and jump into the DLC now, shall we? The Marias is one of 2 legendary weapons that has an arcane scaling. The other one we'll be talking about soon, which is used to scale its magic damage as well as some physical. I'm guessing it's to showcase how mysterious it is, or whatever, but don't dump all your points into Arcane, as the thing primarily scales up strength. Other than that, it looks cool, and it has a unique chopping attack heavy, so yeah, pretty cool. However, the true gem of this bad boy is its Ash of War. Yukad's Dancing Blade makes you throw out the sword in front of you, spinning it around in a corkscrew that deals more ticks of damage. The more you hold down the skill, the longer it lasts, and once it's done, you pull the sword back with a slash. The damage can be amplified with various different talismans and spheres, specifically with multi-hit ones. If you want to max out your potential new game playthrough, you're going to need the Winged Sword Insignia, the Prosthesis, the Shard of Alexander, the Godfrey icon, and the Thorny Craft Tier. Genuinely speaking, this is my favorite weapon. Just something about the skill that just activates my neurons or something like that. I don't know. Like, this is just one of the best legendary weapons there are. This is just one of the best legendary weapons there is. No argument there. I used this thing to beat the DLC for the first time. It will always hold a special place in my heart. So, to make up for the fact that I don't have footage of me killing Godfrey and Radahn, I'm going to instead kill the Divine Dancing Beast Lion and the Twin Moon Knight with the Marias. Also, I only recorded footage when I got a new legendary or whenever I was going through a dungeon or fighting a boss. Call it me learning that recordings take up a lot of space, or a knee-jerk reaction from losing all that footage. Who's to say? Also, just wanting you all to know that I got all the Shadow Tree fragments off screen. Believe me, if I cheated them in with Glorious Merchant, I would tell you. In fact, I might do that whenever I do another Elden Ring video in the future. I understand why they added these fragments, to make sure that people wouldn't turb stop the DLC with their New Game 99 characters or whatever, but it just seems like a band-aid fix to a problem that wasn't really a problem, you know? Anyways, rant over. Let's fight my favorite DLC boss.
sphere delivered. Take root inside the tower's sculpted keepers, and perched within, we beg of thee, rise. Dance and cavorte, cleanse all and awake. Cruelty, woe, and those who plague the tower. Cleanse away the strumpet's vile company.
For this fight, I'm going to use Finlay because I used her for the Godfrey fight. First fight didn't go so well, so let's just focus on the winning attempt. Finlay is a good summon as she immediately casts a regenerating health spell the second she is summoned. Plus, I think she can rot enemies if you get lucky, I don't know. Eventually, we get the beast down to phase 2. Word of advice, just wait till it goes to like frost or storm mode. It's way too easy to get hit by stray lightning while trying to hit it. Eventually, the beast goes to ice, and it didn't take long for Goblin to screw this thing to death. Yeah, you heard me. With the Divine Beast divided, the Loot Goblin seeks out the Twin Moon Knight next. He faces off against Moograthil, which is such a beautiful name that the Goblin brutally gutted her alive. After sneaking past the other guards, the Loot Goblin makes it to the next race and goes to fight Rolana. With the help of Olga, we're able to do massive amounts of damage and bring it to phase 2. But I fucked up on the Moon Slam attack. Twice. And I died here too, so attempt 4. This time we don't die to her dodge attack and make it back to phase 2. Man, I just freaking love the Mariahs, dude. Thankfully all the other legends are good here in the DLC. With one final screw, we bested the Twin Moon Knight. Time for a change of fashion. Now, to get our first DLC legend, we'll have to go through the Ruined Forge of Starfall Pass. Other than being a mouthful, this place is rather dangerous, so after narrowly avoiding death off-screen, the Loot Goblin, shoves his hand into the forge and grabs the ancient Meteoric Ore Greatsword. So after we show Quilana our cool new sword, we head on over to Fogriff Catacombs to both test the ore sword out and to get the stone sheath sword. To get it, we're going to have to go to the end of that large room with the necromancer shooting at us, while spikes try to crush us from above. Then, we're going to jump in this hole in one of those spike blocks before running on top of those blocks to get to the altar with the sword. It's useless now, but I know where to take it. Now, let's talk about the Ore Greatsword. The ancient Meteoric Ore Greatsword has the Zweihander moveset, meaning its heavy attacks have pierce damage. And on top of that, it's the longest colossal sword in the game by quite a large margin, which complements its Ash of War rather nicely. And it has the same quirk as the Mariahs, where it has a little bit of arcane scaling and magic damage. The Ash of War, White Light Charge, is just amazing. Using this skill will shoot you forward a surprising distance, and a second use will cause a magical explosion that can stagger and knock down enemies if they're small enough, that is. However, you can accidentally miss your attack if you use the skill too close, so it's better to use it to close the distance rather than point blank unless you know you can hit. Despite having a mouthful of a name like its home dungeon, the Ore Greatsword is an amazing weapon, and the only reason I didn't immediately go get it is because, well, again, I wanted to show me killing bosses with the Mariahs. Though I guess the downside to that compromise is because of that, I didn't kill any Remembrance bosses with this thing. Well, it is what it is, as they say. Now, before I go and take on Shadow Keep, I want to get something. If you follow the path here, you'll be able to find a small tomb which houses the Divine Bird Warrior, Ornis. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this guy is the only legendary Spirit Ash in the DLC. I don't know, I didn't bother to go and check them all. I'm going to use him for the rest of the DLC, and this hippo will be his first real test. The hippo is, well, the hippo, but Ornis manages to get a stance break, which lets us tag team it, and before long, we put the damn thing down. Using this time to show you guys that I have been doing these guys' quests before heading deeper into Shadowkeep. I'm going to need to head down to the lower levels of the ruins to get the Sword of Darkness. So after passing the militiamen and going down this ladder, the goblin hops into this coffin to get to where he needs to be. But before I could get the darkness, I first need to go down to the rundown Traveler's Rest to get a cookbook to make hefty furnace pots. That's because I need to wake this guy up so his fat ass can stop blocking the way to the altar. And once I dodge the fire attack, the goblin uses the stone sheath sword at the altar to unlock the Sword of Darkness. With our new weapon, we go to the church district and drain the water from below. The sword's ash is fun, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. After shoving this guy off a ledge, we carefully traverse the rafter before facing off against Commander Gaius. Thankfully, Gaius is one of the many bosses in the DLC that is weak to Holy, so we should have an easier time here. The goblin Ornis keeps chipping away at Gaius until he wanted to act like a Radahn light, and one jumping attack later, we bested the Boar Rider. I'm going to go to the stone coffin next, but before I do, I nap this legendary incantation and go through one of the best areas to ring this finger bell or whatever. Alright, here we are, the stone coffin fissure. After taking a fall here and there, the Loot Goblin experiences his own personal D-Day. I wonder if they dodge rolled on Normandy Beach. After we best the ghost of misbegotten past, the Loot Goblin makes a mighty plunge so he can face off against the Putrescent Knight. Another boss that is allergic to holy damage and has the health of a wet piece of paper. If you're wondering why I haven't talked about the Sword of Darkness in more detail yet, I'm going to do that whenever I do the Sword of Light, as I feel the same about both, to be honest with you. Either way, one more blast of darkness and this night goes nighty-night. After ringing the second finger bell, we're going to get the Sword of Light now that I've filled my boss kill quota for the darkness, which means we're going to go through the ruins of Rao. After definitely defeating Devonia, we're going to go from the western ruins side of Grace and go get the light. I'm going to let this play out so you can follow along. I think the side of Grace outside of Romina's area is faster, but I didn't know that at the time. Now that we have our Sword of Light, what better place to go than Darklight Catacombs? And while I fight Jory, let's talk about both swords. The Swords of Light and Darkness are literally interchangeable. They have the same scaling requirements, same damage numbers, and the only difference being their looks and their Ashes of War, which is why I waited so long till I talked about them. But other than that, they're both wholly straight swords, they have more strength scaling, and they're absolutely amazing. And if you want to switch them out, you can go back to Unte or Rao to get Light or Darkness respectively. The Ashes of War, being aptly named Light and Darkness respectively, are the main differences despite doing the same thing essentially. You raise the sword up and shoot out projectiles. Light shoots beams of light in front of you while Darkness shoots darkness all around you. The thing is, they also give different effects. Light will give you a plus 20% holy damage buff, while Darkness will give your enemies a minus 20 damage negation debuff for holy damage. Upon reviewing the footage and having the gift of hindsight, I'm going to make the executive decision to lower the Sword of Light from A to B. A high B, but a B nonetheless. I don't know, I just think that darkness is more useful as a utility option. It has less room for error, and since light is a body buff, it'll overwrite other buffs of that sort. And while it is multi-hit, it's only busted if you can consistently hit all attacks, which I can't really say for light. One off-screen forced hike later, here we are, Midra's Manse. And here we are, fighting Midra. And here, we get to see something truly, genuinely horrifying. That which should not be seen by mortal eyes. Midra crashes out.
Enough. I have endured more than enough. I ask you forgive me, dearest Nanaya.
Oh dear god, we have to kill him. Attempt 1 went rather poorly, Attempt 2 was along the same lines, Attempt 3 went rather well in my opinion, as we managed to get Midra to phase 2, but I choked and died. Attempt 4 was way better. While light does good damage, I'm pretty sure things would have gone faster with darkness. Goblin and Ornis tag team Midra down more and more, whittling this madman's health down further and further until one clean backstab is all it takes to end Midra's suffering, once and for all. I'll get into it later, but I unlocked Way to Jagged Peak. We'll talk about that once I get Euphoria, but for now we have a certain bastard to take care of.
Mongrel intruder. That tarnished, it seemeth. Mother, wouldst thou truly lordship sanction in one so bereft of light? Yet, my purpose standeth unchanged. Those stripped of the grace of gold shall all meet death. In the embrace of Mesmer's flame.
I managed to take down Mesmer relatively quickly. Not cleanly, quickly, there's a difference. And here, you can see one of the main flaws of light. If your enemy moves while you're casting, you're just stuck there till it ends. And even though I damn near choked here, me and Ornis get Mesmer down to phase 2.
I will not suffer. a lord devoid of light. No, Mother, forgive me. Soon tarnished. Wilt thou be taken in the jaws of the abyssal serpent shorn of light?
Fun fact, if you manage to hit the snake part, you'll deal like double damage. Perfect for light. Also, while he has a standard 40 holy resistance for phase 1, Mesmer actually loses that for phase 2, meaning he's weak to it. Neat. Also, another almost choke. And after, whatever happened here, Mesmer goes down. Oh boy, time for Romina. Thankfully, due to her large hitbox, light can generally tear through her health, though I often get hit in the process. Eventually, me and Ornis get this rotten seat down to phase 2, and keep on at it until we purify her tainted soul. After burning the sealing tree, we make our way through Anir Ilim, fighting off the various divine warriors before making it to this cross site of grace. Once we get it, we'll go down these stairs, follow the path down to this hidden area in Bayle, and now behold, this divine warrior, who for some reason has some twin sword movements, like why this one specifically, whatever, probably a glitch. We make it past him and our prize is near. The loot goblin can smell it. Yes! Aha! Euphoria! After giving it a nice little test against this divine warrior, we meet up back with Lita, and apparently she doesn't want us to kill her boss or something like that. And while I ate shit the first attempt, the second one was just beautiful. While me and Dane were having an honorable duel, Ornis, Ansbach, and Teolia were just turd stomping Lita, like she was getting initiated to the Goblin gang, bro. I'm just gonna let this play out as it's just beautiful. After we take a let us drip, we're gonna go back to where that Manus guy was and kill this Night Lady before fighting the Finger Mom. So, let's talk about Euphoria. Euphoria has a unique effect, where if you hit enough enemies with it, it'll begin to glow, it hit more, it'll glow brighter. Not only does this tie back to its skill, but it'll also buff the weapon to an extra 120 holy damage to be specific at full charge. Keep in mind that you'll get no buildup when fighting undead, so you might get less mileage there. But since you're pretty much at the end of the game, you're probably not going to be fighting any undead. Now the Ash of War, Euphoria Vortex, now that's something. To begin, it's tied with the build-up mechanic I talked about. So using it now with no charge, will just spin the weapon in front of you and nothing will happen. When half charge, you spin the blade out in front of you, shooting a holy beam of light briefly, and when fully charged, the duration is practically doubled. You can also hit enemies with the blade while it's spinning, which will count for any multi-hit buff you have, but not the beam. Euphoria, in my humble opinion, is one of the only legendary weapons that just feels like a legend. I mean, yeah, Darkmoon is cool and all, but Euphoria is the only legendary weapon that has a unique effect on it, with the other one being the Rune's Greatsword. It's just so freaking cool, you know. With Meteor fingered, we headbound back to Jagged Peak, bravely ignoring Cinesax, and make it all the way to the top. Here, we face off against the symbol of dread, Bayle. Even with the assistance of Igon and Ornis, Bayle is still a difficult fight, and though I got him to phase 2, I miffed it on the laser attack. Attempt 2 didn't go that far, to be honest. Because you can only lock onto Bayle's head, it's really easy to get disoriented with him moving around a lot. Also, Attempt 3 ended poorly. Attempt 4 was where it was at. I decided to summon Ornis after phase 2 began, as he was taking way too much damage in the previous attempts. It was a lucky stance break from my guy, and I was able to do 2 charged heavies, fully charging Euphoria and vortexing all over Bayle's face. Okay, no pressure, but we have one last challenge to face off. Here we go.
My loyal blade and champion of the festival. Both your deeds will ever be praised in song. Now, the vow will be honored, and my lord brother's soul will return, so that he may be my consort.
Now, there are 2 tricks I've learned when fighting Radahn. 1, don't summon immediately, and 2, mainly focus on dodge attacks. Now, the first phase isn't that bad, so with a weapon like Euphoria, you should make it through rather easily.
Lord brother, at long last you are returned. Tarnished one, aspiring lord of the old order. If you have known sin, if you grieve for this world, then yield the path forward to us. To I, Nicola, and my promised consort, Radahn.
Phase 2 is where you'll want to summon your spirit while he's doing the nuke. But here he did something else and it threw me off so hard that I choked. Now, whenever he does the massive gravity interest attack, you might be able to get off a charged heavy, but it's not guaranteed. The goal of Phase 1 is to blitz Radahn down as fast as possible so you can have enough resources for Phase 2. Again, you summon when you enter Phase 2, because Radahn is so strong that your Ash will probably die before he even makes it to Phase 2, unless you heal him. And while I got far, I choked during this asteroid attack. Don't take what I say as a definitive guide for Radahn, as even though I beat him in like 3 tries, I'm unsure if that was because of my skill or because of Euphoria. And while people say that Radahn is a bad, unfair boss, I don't really believe that's the case. I'm pretty sure people have said the same thing about Manus, Alane, Frida, and hell, even Malenia. And yeah, Radahn is a ball-bustingly hard boss, but just keep at it and learn from what you did wrong. That's the Soulsborne way. And, yeah, that's it. The Journey of the Loot Goblin. Thank you for sticking by if you decided to watch all 3 videos fully. I really bit off more than I could chew here, didn't I? Well, it's fine. You know, I'm planning on doing much more smaller scale videos in the future. Yeah. Again, this was definitely a learning experience. Kind of took me 4 months to make. Didn't deserve to take 4 months. Goddamn. I was just fucking lazy, and plus, I think Pow World happened during, like, the production of fucking episode 2. So, that kind of took away my passion, and, like, they took away my passion, and, not my passion, my attention. There we go. Fucking Christ. I'm probably going to shut that silence bit down. Anyways, yeah, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. And stay tuned for more.